to Miami-Dade, and I deliver for Pizza Hut. So, you know, it's not nothing big. But I had a lot of extra copies from the last semester from the December 8th issue when I wrote an article. It was titled The Founding Fathers' Premonitions. So I was passing out a whole bunch of those articles to almost every customer. You know, I got a lot of good feedback from a lot of people. Surprisingly, you know, some people showed no interest when I gave it to them, but the next time I showed up, they was really enthusiastic. But,
well, listen, that's what you got to do. We've all got to communicate and find our brothers and sisters in liberty. They're of every race, color, and creed. We got to get together. We've got to all communicate so we realize how many of us there are. Look, I tell this story all the time because it's so key. I have been doing this 17 years, and I got recognized right off the bat every once in a while. But in the last decade, everywhere I go, I get recognized. People buy me dinner when I'm in a restaurant. I'm not asking folks to. It's actually kind of, it's weird when people do stuff for you. But the point is, now I can't walk the dog down the street. I can't walk into a mall. I can't go in a grocery store 10 feet. I mean, if I go to the grocery store anywhere, it's every third person. I can go to foreign countries. I can be in a poor fishing village in Honduras, or I can be in southern Mexico, and the tour bus driver's a listener. I mean, and again, I'm just one person. So I'm telling you, our numbers are much greater than we even know. The average person isn't recognized, isn't known, isn't a, quote, public person. And so you don't have an idea how awake people are. I do. I do, folks, and it is exciting. Go ahead, sir.
So, yep, my last question is, I know you speak to Ron Paul a lot. I'll be voting for him tomorrow in the Florida primary. But my question is, before all this is over, before hopefully he does win the presidency, you know, I think that would be great for us. But I would like to see if he could speak directly to President Obama. You know, I've never seen him speak directly to him, and that would just, I think that would be amazing. You know, I think it'll be all over the news.
Did you hear my last interview with Ron Paul about a month ago?
Oh, I must have not heard it.
Yeah, we should re-air it because it's probably the best interview I've ever done, of over 100 with him. And I said to him, I said, Congressman, why are you attacking the other candidates? I know you need to do that because of their records, but I think you should do what Romney's doing, attack up, go after Obama. And he said, I agree with you. I need to do that more. And so I'm not going to get in the middle of it. Ron Paul's got a lot of great people working for him, but he's also got kind of mainline Republican types as well, because they're just part of the, you know, the establishment there in D.C. That's who there is available from that pool of people. And he's got a great chief of staff in Congress. But I'm not going to sit here and second-guess Ron Paul all day. He's done a great job. I don't think he should do so much retail politicking, exhausting himself 8 hours a day shaking hands. I'm sorry. He needs to hit them with electronic media. That's where people always want me to travel and speak here and do this, that, and talk to folks there. And I do some of that. It's just that I turn down radio interviews every day where I'd be talking to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions. So why should I travel? And in the time that I do that and speak, I could talk to 5 million people. Instead, I go speak to 1,000. And I understand it's important to do some of that, but I just think he should go pretty much all electronic because he's old and it's exhausting him to do all that retail politicking. And I think he should be savaging Obama as a lying globalist puppet. And, talk. I mean, that would really fire up the Republican base as well. God bless you. I appreciate your call. I've already brought it up to him. I mean, here's the deal. I've got Ron Paul's home phone number. I can try to get all of him that way. I know some of his family. I can call Congress. I could call sometimes when they don't set him up for the show, I've got to call his chief of staff and say, hey, they're not setting him up. He wants to come on every month, but it's every 6-8 weeks. If he's too busy, I understand. And then they go ask Ron Paul, and he's like, no, I want to come on. And I've talked to Ron Paul, before off air, and said, hey, do you want to come on every 6 months if you're busy? Because it's like pulling teeth to get you on. He goes, no, we're just really busy. I want to come on every month. He doesn't say something if he doesn't want to. And then it's just pulling teeth getting through the gatekeepers. Because obviously he's super busy. Obviously it takes time. He can't do everything. So I'm not even blaming people there, and I don't even try to give him my advice. I rarely give Ron Paul advice. I did last time he was on. He's a really smart guy. He's always on top of every news item I raise. He lives this stuff. He is conscious. He is awake. And he's a real person. He has basically no ego. I can tell you, looking at him and watching him, he's in the machine mode. I'm in the machine mode, but I'm not disciplined enough to not get angry. Because it's so ridiculous how over the top the corruption is. And I mean, it's almost like after you've already convicted somebody 5,000 times, okay, they committed another 5,000 murders. We're going to have 5,000 more trials. And then sit here and try to convince people that we've got corrupt elites that are out of control. I mean, that's like convincing people to not jump off a cliff. I mean, I shouldn't, everybody should see this for themselves. Ron Paul. See, I don't even want to get into the advice department for Ron Paul, because he's the one in the arena right now. And you know what? He's got to take the punches that are getting thrown at him. He's got to throw his punches. And that's why I understand you want to give him advice. I've given him that exact advice. But then it just opens up a Pandora's box of issues. So I just go through channels, send our email, hey, we want to get Ron Paul on. We'll tape it if you want, or live, whatever you want. And then if that goes on sometimes for a couple of weeks after, a month, then I have to, go above people's heads and get a hold of the top folks. But that happens in any organization. Ron Paul's awesome, but I want to explain to people, don't be disillusioned. This is what I said when I said you got to run for president again. We're drafting you. Remember a year and a half ago? Remember Rand Paul? I talked to him off air and on air. I'm like, you've really got to run. Well, that's why I'm coming on your show, to see if there's interest. Okay, where's the exploratory website? Folks, give them money. And it was the money our audience, on record, gave him up front that made Rand Paul realize he could get the money in he needed. It was our listeners, on record, that went and formed the core of his volunteers. And that's why a lot of Rand Paul's people, came right out of this audience. That's why Ron Paul 4 years ago, 4+ years ago, right before the New Hampshire primary, out of the blue on my show, said, I want to thank your audience. They've been half of our support. I mean, you look at Ron Paul on TV, he's always signing InfoWars shirts, signing InfoWars bumper stickers. He's always, people are, photographed with InfoWars bracelets on. Ron Paul knows that. He knows that half his support still is this radio show. So this radio show is a big, giant secret. It's not a secret to those that are awake. It's not a secret to those that listen. But the establishment media has always tried to ignore the show like it didn't exist, even though we have a bigger audience in most cases than they do. See, it's all about the pageantry. It's all about the show. It's all about makeup and perfect ties and perfect teleprompters and someone looking convincing when they talk to you. In these teleprompters, when they talk about a kid that's died, they tell them, look concerned. Or when they talk about Ron Paul, it'll say, look disgusted. And these people act like they know what they're talking about. They get there 20 minutes before, their makeup's all on. They go in, and they just sit there and try to look official. I mean, John Bounds worked in TV stations around the country. He'll tell you that. People show up. They spend hours in there watching TV, listening to radio, playing around, putting makeup on. They come right out and read the teleprompter and sit there and act like they've got emotions and like they care about what you're saying and what you're doing. And it's the emperor's new clothes. You know that whole parable. He's all dressed up in these fancy outfit. And he's really wearing no clothes at all. But because everyone says, look how beautiful his cloak is, no one wants to admit he's actually butt naked in the parade until a 2-year-old steps up and laughs and says, the emperor's naked. And then somebody else laughs, and then somebody else laughs. All we got to do is call these crooks ridiculous bluff. All right, look, I got to hurry through calls now. Angie in North Carolina, welcome.
Hi, Alex. It's a pleasure to speak to you again. You spoke to me recently and interviewed my husband about the Blue Force situational awareness that they were that they're setting up under the continuity programs. I wanted to call and connect some really important dots that are floating around out there for people. First, I wanted to give you what I think might be a solution to your mainstream media moniker dilemma, and I think you should call them exactly what they are. They're the mainstream mafia.
They are, yeah, that's a good name.
Yeah. Okay, in late fall, around late October, early November last year, right around the time of the holidays, a recommendation came out by the National Biodefense Science Board, which is under Health and Human Services, and they recommended that we not just revisit the issue, they recommend that we actually begin to test anthrax vaccines on the pediatric population.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to cover that. Guys, will you type in government wants to test anthrax vaccine on children or wants to give anthrax vaccine to children? That was in the news last week. I didn't even cover it. It was in the Associated Press. And for those that don't know, they had to suspend it twice because it was killing the troops. And so, yes, now the American Medical Association says they want to start forcing vaccines, including experimental, on the public. Go ahead.
My husband has actually had that vaccine. He was in the first Desert Storm, and he's got residual problems from that vaccine. He's got problems with his memory and all kinds of issues. And so does, by the way, a friend of ours who's a minister who... They were over, him and his wife were over for dinner last night. He's also had that vaccine, and he's also got issues as a result of it.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to tell you, it's a soft kill. It's meant that after a veteran served their time to be debilitating, but there's ways to try to reverse it. I've had medical doctors on. There were actual court martials that began, as you know, in Denver and other areas, when their own doctors said, look, I just gave 100 people this shot. One of them died. 5 are having convulsions. Something's wrong. And they said, put them in irons. And again, then they said, you've got to follow orders to take the shot. You have to take the shot if you're in the military, if it's an approved, confirmed vaccine. But under law, you cannot force an experimental shot on troops. And it turns out they were using them as guinea pigs, as you know. Go ahead.
Right. Now, that recommendation came out, and some websites wrote articles about it. There was an article in Science Insider on October 28th, and a quote from this article is, even if this study goes forward, it'll have to jump through hoops because a trial like this is without precedent and involves giving children a vaccine, this is a quote, that's almost certain not to benefit them and that might harm them, all to protect other children.
But it's about setting the precedent to even give boys an MMR shot that killed girls in the trials and kills them now and doesn't protect you from the papillomavirus, the insert says. In fact, we found the article. Let's put it on screen. This is from Medical News Today. Federal government wants to test anthrax vaccine on children. I'm sorry, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, what they're looking to do is the scientists are salivating for the data that they ethically cannot gather. That's what they want to do. It's not about protecting anybody from a ridiculously unlikely anthrax attack.
Ma'am, you know what's going on. I mean, anybody can look this up. Until 3 years ago, every doctor, every nurse was trained. Everyone knew you don't give a pregnant woman vaccines. It's been proven to cause deformities, health problems, and miscarriages. Now, instead, they flip it and say, pregnant women are who you want to give all the shots, and it's killing them. They're testing bold in your face, killing us, and getting away with it. Go ahead.